This is the Mirage IIIC, a French fighter jet at Tier 6 BR 10.3 and costing 390,000 research points. The Mirage first flew in 1956, entering service in 1961, and was the first Western European combat aircraft to exceed twice the speed of sound in level flight. So starting off with the armament of the aircraft, the Mirage has two inbuilt 30mm DIFA 552A cannons with a fire rate of 1,200 rounds per minute. And with the 125 rounds per gun that are supplied, this will give you around 6 seconds of trigger time. The ammunition belts available for these guns include default, air targets, ground targets, and stealth. Personally, I initially used the default rounds and then later switched to using air targets. In some payload options, these guns can be removed to allow for the fitting of an SEPR-84 rocket motor. The guns will be replaced by the fuel tank for this additional engine. Moving on to missiles, the Mirage has a fair selection. 2 IR-guided missiles, 1 missile with both an IR and a radar-guided variant, and then an air-to-ground missile. Firstly, the IR missiles. The first of the two is the AIM-9B. This is a Tier 1 modification and is probably one of the more common missiles in War Thunder. The AIM-9B has a 10G overload and a flight range of 6.21 miles or 10 kilometers. The second IR-guided missile is the R530 Magic 1. This is a Tier 4 modification and is the best performing close-range air-to-air missile on the Mirage, with a 30G overload and a flight range identical to that of the earlier AIM-9B. The G overload of this missile is comparable to the Russian R60, although the Magic 1 is superior in both range and maximum speed. The Mirage can then also use the Matra R530 or 530E, which are Tier 2 and 3 modifications respectively. These two missiles have the same performance with a 15G overload and a range of 9.32 miles or 15 kilometers. The difference, however, is in the seeker head of the missile, with the 530 having a radar seeker and the 530E having a rear aspect IR seeker. The main benefit of the radar seeker being the ability to lock onto targets from any direction, although it will be hindered by radar ground interference at low altitudes. The final missile type on the Mirage is the Nord AS-30 air-to-ground missile. This is a manually guided missile with a range of 4.97 miles or 8 kilometers with 125 kilograms of explosive mass. This missile is essentially a beefed up version of the commonly used Nord AS-20. The Mirage then has access to a selection of unguided weapons, including SNEB unguided rockets in 2 different pod types, 250 kilogram bombs and 400 kilogram bombs. Moving on to flight performance, the Mirage is of course quite capable when it comes to straight line speed. The aircraft is powered by an ATAR-9B afterburning turbojet that produces up to 6,090 kilograms of force. This engine powers the Mirage to over Mach 1 at sea level and up to Mach 2 at altitude, although it will take quite a while to accelerate to that speed. The aircraft can also climb at up to 140 meters per second, which while not the best in-game, is still comparable to most other top-tier jets. As far as maneuverability, the Mirage, having a delta wing, is of course quite competitive at combat speeds, so can dodge missiles or incoming enemy aircraft with relative ease. However, it will also drop considerable amounts of speed during maneuvers due to the high angle of attack and surface area of its delta wing. So after only a few turns, the aircraft will find itself at less than ideal speeds where the maneuverability is not actually that good. In this situation, evading attacks will be difficult, so it would be wise not to turn too much in a short space of time, despite the good maneuverability of the aircraft. Some additional points of note: the Mirage does have a detailed cockpit model and has 3 skin options: the default bare metal scheme, a Venezuelan Air Force scheme, and a French bicolor scheme, the latter 2 of which are available through the Gaijin market. Okay, so getting into some gameplay in Air RB, we're starting off with a game on Spain, quite a common jet map. If you've played jets, basically since War Thunder began, you will probably have seen this map a fair bit. So getting into the air, we're going to essentially flank around the edge of the map, basically. I don't really like just going head on with the entire enemy team like most people do. That's not the way I like to do it. I like to flank, be a bit more tactical, and then engage single targets at my own pace. First target, MiG-21, we're going to be using the R530, the radar-guided medium-range missile. You know, he made some turns, but he wasn't able to outturn the missile, and I was able to take him down, getting my first kill of the game. Pretty easy kill there. Of course, you lock on with the radar, You then turn on the seeker, and once it's locked, you can then fire the missile. We're now using one of the magics, fired it at the F5, and yeah, it's a 30G missile. It's got reasonable range. If you fire within, 2 miles, kind of 3.5 kilometers, it's probably going to hit quite easily. CL-13, I dive down, fire some shots, no success, and then there's another CL-13 kind of yeeting in towards me. With them turning around, it looks like one of our Japanese sabers is on their tail. I decide to turn and attempt to re-engage, and as I do that, I kind of start blacking out and I can't see the saber, and then I see shots coming in, and it's just, oh, he's right in front of me, and yeah, I take him down. I did take some damage, not ideal, so I then return to base, rearm, fix up the aeroplane, and then get back out to the battlefield. MiG-19, he was chasing a friendly F3H Demon, but then the Demon got on his tail. I fire the missile, and the MiG-19's clearly focusing on the Demon, just thinking, I've got to run away, and he doesn't spot the missile, which very, very nicely curves through the air and just meets up with that MiG-19, taking him down pretty easily. Final kill is then on an F5. This guy had been sitting at the enemy airfield for the entirety of the match. At this point, the game had been going for about 30 minutes. He had just been sitting at the airfield, and eventually he took off. So, the Demon goes in to try and kill him, and I just take the opportunity to just lob a missile at him, just kill him. I want the game over at this point, so I get in as close as I can, fire one of the magics, and then just fly away so as not to be damaged by the airfield AA. But there we go, we took down the F5, that was my 5th and final kill of this game, being the final enemy aircraft, of course. Overall, quite a nice match this one, actually. It was drawn out for quite a while, so it was a longer game, and I do prefer it in ARB when the games last a bit longer and you can take the time to be a bit more tactical. You maybe have to go back to the airfield to rearm. That is what I enjoy doing. I don't really like the games where one team just completely dominates and kills the other team within 5 minutes. So as we get into our second game on Malta, it is worth saying that the Mirage is very much a missile platform. While the two 30mm DEFA cannons are very useful at times and can of course be used for shooting down enemy aircraft, the missiles are going to be your main weapon, as will be demonstrated again in this game. Starting off with the R530, the radar guided medium range missile, locked up an F4E who's flying along. The missile just goes in, a bit of a longer missile flight than the one in the previous game with that missile, but nonetheless it hits the target, sets him on fire, and he will shortly burn down. Straight away we then go in with one of the magic ones on another F4E. He's not going so fast, going vertical. At that speed, there's not much he really could have done to outturn the missile, so that was a pretty easy kill. And with that, the first target that we shot with the R530 then burns down. Continuing on, I initially begin to engage an F100. I was going to go in with guns or missile, but he was through the cloud. I couldn't exactly gauge where he was headed. I knew he was coming towards me, but I didn't know exactly where he was headed, so leading the guns wasn't exactly that easy there, so I decided just not to engage and fly past. With that though, I see an F4C going along with a friendly MiG-19. It looks like that F4C had bombs or rockets or something on his pylons weighing him down, and with that there's not much he could have done to outmaneuver the missile. With that though, 3 kills using the missiles, really using all 3 of those missiles to their fullest, and just demonstrating how this aircraft is very much a missile platform despite having the guns. And of course, while you can remove those guns to equip the rocket motor to improve the flight performance of the aircraft, I do personally prefer to keep the guns, as I said previously, they can come in handy at times, especially when you've used all your missiles and you may be engaged by enemy aircraft. So starting off our third and final game in the Mirage, you will notice something is a little bit off about my aircraft. That's right, the entire airplane is black. As far as I'm aware, this is just a bug where the game doesn't load the skin files properly, and it just leads to the aircraft basically having no texture. So yeah, not exactly ideal, but nonetheless, this game was quite good, demonstrating some of the pros of the aircraft, so I figured I would keep it in and show off the Stealth Mirage in all its glory. So starting off, we're going to, again, start off with the R530 radar-guided missile, demonstrating one of the big pros of this version over its IR-guided counterpart. I lock up an F4 Phantom who's in the cloud and coming towards me, fire the missile, and yeah, it just curves off into the cloud, and I get a kill. The IR guided version would not be able to do that because firstly it cannot lock through clouds, and secondly it just can't lock frontally. The IR guided version is a rear aspect IR seeker, so can only lock from sometimes the side of a target, but for the most part behind an enemy target. So definitely showcasing the pros of the radar version when compared to the IR version. Going in on an F100, firing off one of the magic ones, obviously not exactly looking back, seemingly he was going towards the friendly MiG-21s who were chasing another F100. Pretty easy kill there. Continuing on though, another F100 was running off, got killed by one of the MiG-21s, and then we have an F4C. Now the Magic seemingly, it is a rear aspect missile as far as I'm aware, but it can lock from the side of a target. So just there, the F4C was not actually flying away from me, he was flying essentially sideways, side on, so I could lock from the side, fire the missile, and it would curve in and get a nice kill. So definitely a pretty flexible seeker head, so to speak. Critical hit there on another Phantom, then we have an F100, do a head-on, fire the shots, pull away, pretty nice and successful head-on there, and I also got an assist on that F4EJ. So that was the end of that game, again demonstrating those missiles, the Magics, and the Matra R530, and also getting a kill with the guns and an assist with the guns, so you know, kind of demonstrating the whole range of weaponry that you will be using in AirRB. So there we go, the Mirage IIIC. As said, it is most effective as a missile platform. As shown in those games, I prefer to take out the two Magic ones and the Matra R530 with the Radar Seeker. Despite only having up to 3 missiles, which is less than most other top jets, the Mirage can prove to be quite effective when the missiles are used correctly, as I hopefully demonstrated. Once the missiles have been used, you will of course still have the two 30mm DEFA 552A cannons, which can prove to be quite effective against enemy aircraft. Players that have used French jets before will most likely be well versed in using similar cannons, as similar 30mm cannons are also used by the Etendard, Super Mystere and the Valtor 2A. Something certainly worth noting is the fact of being a Delta. Being one of only a few Delta Wing aircraft currently in War Thunder certainly adds to the Mirage being somewhat unique, and is one of the factors that drew me to making a video on this aircraft. Anyways, that's going to be it from me. Thank you very much for watching the video. If you did enjoy, please consider dropping a like on the video, and if you wish to see more content such as this, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.